So you probably thought long and hard about coming over to Thailand to retire, and look at guys like me on the internet thinking, oh, look at this guy over there, you know, enjoying himself, you know, living over in Thailand. Is it possible to do? Okay, so you made up the decision to come over to Thailand. You're going to have a bit of fear, you know, when you first come over, or, you know, the apprehension about leaving your family, leaving your friends, coming over to Thailand for the first time. It is a little bit scary for newbies who've not come here before. Hopefully you've tested the water and come out to Thailand for a holiday. I kind of suggest you do that before you actually move out here to retire. That's always a good idea to do that first. So hopefully you've done that already. So maybe you've been once or twice, checked out, scoped out Thailand a little bit and think, okay, this is a great place for retirement, guys. Hopefully you've picked a place where you're kind of thinking about going to retire to. Now, I wouldn't commit when you first come over here. I would spend, you know, 6 months or so, 3 to 6 months in the first place. And just, you know, don't commit too long in the first area, because you never know, you might change your mind when you come over here. So maybe, say you're looking at Hua Hin, for example, or Wai Hin, or however you want to pronounce it. Say you're looking at this area, you know, just try and get a 3-month lease on the first, like, house or, you know, accommodation. You know, see if your landlord's flexible like this. I would, just to try and just break you in gently, you know. I mean, you can always extend it afterwards, but you can't, you know, it's harder to get out if you've committed for a year, 2-year contract. So, you know, just commit for a short amount of time, I would, when you first come out. If you can. You can't always do that on some properties. But I would just rent when you first come out here. Find some kind of rented accommodation, apartment, condo, pool villa, whatever, you know, whatever your kind of budget is. Everyone's different on the budget. And then come over here and rent, and then see if you like the area. Because, you know, 3 months in an area, you're going to have a good idea if you know, want to stay longer term in that area after that. And then you can extend it 6, 12 months. Now, not every property or condo or apartment will accept 3 months. Some don't. So you'll have to just look around for that. Some want 6-month, 12-month contract. A lot of accommodations do, guys. And they want like 2-month deposit as well. That's kind of normal. When you first come over, you're going to be a bit excited. You're going to overspend the first 2 or 3 months. Or 100% you will overspend. Because you'll be on holiday mode. And you'll just be spending money willy-nilly, and then you'll be like, oh my God, we've not got enough money. Don't worry about this. You know, the first few months, you're going to just spend more money. That's inevitable. Going to a new area, you know, you're just setting up somewhere new. You always end up spending more money, guys. You know, you go out more, you do more things, you go traveling more than you normally would do when you've been somewhere a long time. You'll just end up spending, you know, double what you bloody planned to spend probably the first month or two. So just budget that for the first 2 or 3 months. You will definitely be on holiday mode. I was when I first came here. You know, I just blew loads when I first came here. I couldn't help myself. And then I was like, oh, I was in a little bit different position. You know, I ended up working out here, but you guys are going to probably be retired. So you're not going to be working. But that definitely them first couple of months, you're going to be blowing the budget for sure. When you're leaving America or England or Australia or wherever you're coming from, you know, you're going to have a load of people just give you grief probably saying, what are you doing? Are you sure you want to retire in Thailand? Or, you know, you're making a mistake. You're leaving all your friends and family. This is pretty common. You know, this is probably going to happen, you know, especially if some of your friends and family have never traveled abroad. Not that way of thinking. So, you know, you're leaving grandkids behind, kids, you know, your children behind. They might be like, oh, where are you going? What are you doing? Are you sure you got enough money? And there's going to be loads of people going on like this at you for sure. Negativity, because that's what people are like. People are just scared to change. So, you know, as long as you've thought through the decision and, you know, really thought through, not commit yourself crazily, you know, not buy a house out here straight away, you know, just rent somewhere. So, you know, worst case scenario, you can always go back. You know, that's what I would say. If you don't completely burn every bridge under the sun when you leave, you know, your own country, you can always go back, you know, 12 months down the line. Who cares if people give you grief for, you know, trying something new and then it not working out? That's just life. Sometimes you have to try things. You never know. But that's up to you. Now, if you're like 50-50 about it, maybe this is a good idea. Just come out for a year. You know, maybe rent your own house out for a year, and then you've got something to go back to if it doesn't work out for you in Thailand, if you don't really enjoy it. Because you don't really know until you come and live in, you know, a foreign country for a long time. You don't really know if you're going to really love living abroad. It is quite different, and definitely the first few months is holiday mode. honeymoon period, as I say, and then real life kind of sets in. Even in retirement, I know you're not working, but real life sets in, the humdrum every day. Things you're doing at home, you're going to do out here the same, similar kind of things. It's not some amazing magical transformation in your life. You still go out, you still cook at home, you eat, you still, do things that you normally do, watch TV, go out for a beer, take your dog out for a walk. You still do the normal things that, every day. You still have to go shopping. You still have to do this. You still have to do that. Just everything's a little bit different because you're in a completely different country. A lot of people in retirement, they do what everyone else does, very, very similar things, but they're in a completely different culture, with a completely, great cost of living. It's a lot cheaper to live out here. The other great thing is obviously the climate is very, very nice out here. It's very safe compared to some other places around the world. It's a very, very safe country to live in generally. Yeah, of course, there's some crime, but generally it's a very, very safe country. So older people are respected out in Thailand a lot more, which is lost in the West, especially in America and the UK. Another reason would be the weather, depending where you're from, but the climate here is very nice for, especially Brits coming out here. There is wall-to-wall sunshine, which we're not used to. The culture is a lot more relaxed as well, so everything is less strict than it would be, say, in the UK, where I'm from. The laws are very, very strict, which is good and bad in some ways. And the vibe of the people out here is completely different. But, that is something you'll have to get used to. Sarcasm is not really here. Like in the UK, we have sarcasm, which I totally do miss a lot, to be honest with you. And luckily I'm working with, some other Brits, so, I still get that. But it is lost on Thai people a little bit, sarcasm on some Thais. So, and obviously the language barrier as well, that sarcasm can be lost a bit. I know we're like sarcastic twats from the UK. I know everything is, taking the piss out of each other. So yeah, that's something that will change. If you're coming from the UK, you will miss that banter. But if you go to a touristy or retirement hub, you're still going to meet loads of Brits, Americans. So there's going to be people from your own culture you can have a lot of banter with. That's why I kind of suggest it rather than going, living in the middle of nowhere in the village. That's a personal choice, what you want to do in Thailand. Everyone's different. They're coming here to look to get away from, the UK. They're coming getting away from the people. Okay, fair enough. You go live in the sticks somewhere, okay? If that's what you want, that's cool. I think you might change your mind after a year or two there, but it's up to you. Go and try it. You might not. You might love it. So usually guys that live in the village, they've normally got got a girlfriend and, a Thai wife, or they've got a partner from the UK. So they've got, a girlfriend already. So they get a house out in the sticks with her and her family's area usually, which can be quite a eye-opener if you're living with, your Thai wife and her, or your Thai girlfriend and her family. That can be quite challenging at times. I've never done that personally. I wouldn't want to do it. I think it'd be quite difficult at times because it's you and then the whole family. It might be quite tricky. But that does have its advantages. Kunyai, which we call the mother-in-law, she would love cooking. Usually they like cooking and they cook for the whole family, so you would get food there cooked for you regularly, which is kind of nice. But maybe your missus does that. But my missus doesn't really cook that much because she's busy working. So, it depends on your own partnership over here. If you come at a quite young age, maybe you've got some ambitions to still do stuff, not just retire and do nothing some of you maybe got some ambitions of things you want to do out here online, or, there's so much opportunity online to just do, not really work, just stuff for fun, just improve yourself, courses you can go on or whatever you want to do. I mean, yeah, you could earn money doing that. And then you could switch over to a DTV visa, the other visa where you can get digital nomad visa. So you could switch over. You don't have to go on a retirement visa, for a few years and then later on switch to a retirement visa. Come over on a tourist visa when you first come over for like 2 months and then switch over when you're over here. It's quite easy to do that. Worst case scenario, even after the 2 months, you can extend it if you want, but you could go to like Hong Kong for a week and then come back in, and then you get 2 more months, and then it gives you a little bit more time to kind of sort out your retirement visa or sort out maybe another visa. I mean, you don't want to always do that. That's annoying. But, you know, now they've got this 60-day visa. It's quite long, so it's quite a good thing. But you do have to fly out and fly in to get 60 days. You can't just cross the border anymore. But that's kind of old school way of doing it. I mean, you don't want to do that long term, but it's okay one time, you know, if you want to just do that. And if you're not sure, you know, your visa you want to go on. If you're looking at getting a girlfriend out here, you know, don't rush in for sure. And you will get lots of, if you're a single guy coming over here, which a lot of my viewers are, sorry couples if you're listening, but you know, a lot of guys that come over here are single and, you know, divorced, and they're looking for a partner. I would just say be very, very careful. The first month or two you're in Thailand, don't rush into a relationship with a Thai girl. You know, it takes a long time to meet a nice Thai girl. It doesn't happen overnight, guys. You know, you're not really going to meet her in Pattaya, in some of the bars, or lying in some of the bars. You know, you're better off just waiting, start to understand Thailand a little bit. And then, okay, later down the line, start to look for a girlfriend. But definitely don't rush in the first month or two and find a girlfriend and think she's the most wonderful woman in the world. It's a bad idea, guys, because she probably isn't, unless you're very, very, very lucky, okay? You don't know Thailand, you don't understand Thailand, just don't do it. Just stay single, trust me. You will thank me later, because you just don't understand Thailand. I wish someone had told me when I first came to Thailand, because I shambled around and, you know, I had some dubious relationships when I first came to Thailand, thinking I know everything and I knew nothing. So yeah, I would really, really wait. Even if you meet a really nice girl, just take it super slow, because you don't know if she is a nice girl. You think she is, but you don't know, okay, till you've been here a little bit longer, guys. And when you come over here, make sure you explore some different areas. So maybe you stay a couple of months in Hua Hin. You know, you got lease on maybe 3 months in a hotel or in your apartment for 3 months. You've got rent, a lease or something for 3 months. And then, you know, in that 3 months, travel around. You know, start to explore other areas. You know, go over to Isan for a few days. Go down to Phuket for a few days. You know, try to do a few different trips. Go to Jomtien. Go to Bangkok. You know, spend a bit of time in a few different areas, and then you'll start to understand Thailand a bit and the different areas in Thailand. You know, everywhere's quite different in Thailand. You might find, you know, you go to Bangkok for a week and you absolutely love it. You don't know, honestly, when you start to explore Bangkok, it's cool. Maybe not just at the moment because there's a bit of pollution there, but, you know, everyone is different what they want. So I really suggest to try, you know, explore a few different areas around Thailand if you can. Obviously the budget is a thing. That's why I'm saying the first few months you're going to need a bit more money. So please budget a lot more money for the first 2 or 3 months, because you will want to spend more money to make sure, you know, you're in the right area, that you want to stay in that area, guys. When you first come over as well, make sure, you know, you adapt to the culture and try and learn the language as quick as possible, or as best you can. I mean, you're not going to be fluent for sure. It takes a long, long time. But just try your best to try and learn some of the lingo. That really helps, especially if you want to get a girlfriend out here. Getting a girlfriend out here really is a lot better. Hey, Paolo. Is a lot better if you, my other dog. Getting a girlfriend out here without speaking Thai is tricky. You know, really, really, you start to understand the culture a little bit more when you start to speak Thai. And just cultural differences, just start learning about them. I mean, I give a lot of advice on here, but there's a lot of advice on YouTube about them. But it's hard to really know until you come here and experience it firsthand, and actually live here. And when you work here as well, you really experience it when you're in the workplace as well. You know, you start to really figure out Thailand when you worked a long time in some Thai schools like I have before, you know, a long, long time. You start seeing things and you're like, oh, that's why they do that. And it's like some like light bulbs go off in your head and you're like, oh, that's why my missus does that. That's why they behave in that way. That's why the kids do this, because of this reason. That's why they say this in English, because they can speak Thai and I understand it now, and now I know why they speak this in English when they speak in English, and it just all the dots start to connect. It's really interesting, and it like light bulbs go off in your head all the time. It happened to me many years ago. It still happens now sometimes, you know, but even like when I was originally here for a few years, you know, especially working here, things start going off and I was like, oh, now I get it. And then you start to realize that the Thai way is actually better than the English way. I don't like to say that, but sometimes the way they do things here is actually better than England. And I'm like, oh, why don't we do that like that in England? I think maybe because I've been here a long, long time, I've kind of changed a little bit, And a lot of people come here and they're not. They kind of fight that. But I don't know, I think maybe I accepted the culture quite quickly. And I was always like, oh, it's better. Some of the ways they do things is just better. Look at this lemongrass. You can boil this up, grow it in your garden. It's so easy. Pull it out, boil it up. It's like lemongrass tea you can make. Juice you can make with it. Put it with ice. It's bloody lovely. You can make it like a warm drink as well. It's absolutely lovely. My missus always does it. And that's something that'll happen if you have a garden. If you have a garden with a Thai girl in Thailand, you just end up getting loads of things just growing everywhere. All in my grass. Stuff everywhere, just growing. Starts like just planting things and growing it. It's quite funny. Because I'm living over in China quite a bit at the moment. Just come back and there's more things growing. It's quite funny. Maybe it's just my missus because she's from the countryside. I don't know, but I think a lot of Thai girls are like this because it's pretty good in Thailand. You just end up. Everything kind of grows if you chuck it in the garden and water it a bit. As long as you water it, they're pretty good. Grows all over. Thanks for listening, guys. A bit of a waffle today. But sometimes it's good to fill you in what's happening in my life a bit too. And a bit like real kind of talk. Not bullshit, but just real talk is kind of cool sometimes, Just have a bit of a one-to-one with you guys because I know you're listening out there somewhere in America, in England. Listening to the old bull guy in his garden rabbiting on. I wonder how many of you guys watch other channels out there. I think a lot of people watch many channels. When I used to watch YouTube in Thailand, I watched all the channels. So I imagine some of you guys watch a lot of the other channels too. I used to watch quite a mixed bag of channels. Even now, I don't really watch any now, to be honest. I'm kind of sick of them because I'm doing it myself, it's like I don't really watch them anymore. Sometimes I do just for research, but generally I don't watch them.